Are there any other resident comments about the budget? Yes.
I'm Scott Rourke.
Scott, what's your last name?
Rourke.
Rourke.
R-O-A-R-K. Number 21527 Bellhaven Way. And I'd like to, before we stop up here with removing the instructional thing, I'd like to congratulate you for making the call to go ahead and take those out. It's awesome. Great safety enhancement. I would like to challenge whoever's in charge for doing that as far as having professional services come out and take care of that. You know, why if maybe someone from the staff can go and trim it down. You know, I don't know why those can't be saved to maybe trim it to a 2-foot height. Even if it kind of almost makes it look bare, they will go back and maintain that. Because right now you're going to be paying for pine straw or seasonal flowers or replanting shrubs or whatever in there. And so that's an added expense. I think money could be saved to just trim it down and still be there. And that holds true for practically every intersection in the community.
Before you go further, Scott, we have now hired a landscape architect. We are redoing all the landscaping at all those corners, and and we've also hired a engineering firm to give us the line of sight so that we have that correct when we do the new landscaping. So I think what John's doing is just temporarily getting this done, and we will be meeting with the landscape architect in the next couple weeks to see what their current plans are and when we can get started on those and get the information from the engineering. So doing the pine straw now is probably the least expensive at this point, and rather than doing any of the other stuff, because John's trimmed those bushes back, and it'll take a while for them to get back up, and again, it's going to affect the line of sight, and we're trying to clear that up at each one of the corners. So that's our reasoning for it now, and we're hoping to get the information from Juniper in the next couple months and get started with this. So rather, this was kind of just get the line of sight so we can see as much as we can for now before we get the full landscaping done.
And a lot of these berms are going to have to be lowered. A lot of these corners, even with taking out that shrubbery, those trees are probably going to have to come out, and you're going to have to lower the berm. And that's just kind of what we were doing. This was an issue where if I just took a little bit out, it wouldn't look right when I came up to the four-way. There was no, the way the trees sit on each corner. So we just said, hey, we can go back to here and it'd be proportionate and look good, and it would still accomplish our objective of giving more line of sight, because there's actually a Lee County requirement, how far left you're supposed to be able to see and then how far right as a person in your car. I still think that we don't give, that's given on, even though the work we did, but it's something, it's more, it's better, and it's just knowing that we're going into this project, this landscape project, going to be taking out all that shrubbery. It was kind of like, let's kind of see what the feel is, from people. It's going to give them more safety, and it's helping us in the long run. It's less stuff we're going to have to pull out in the meantime. And if everybody's kind of, good with it, we might kind of systematically just go to these intersections for now. And do what we can, and make them look good.
Temporary fix.
And at least we're doing something, along with hiring the firm, to come in.
Well, as everybody knows, I'm new here, so I wish I was here at the beginning of this whole discussion.
Okay.
Because I would have challenged the thought of even hiring an engineer to do something that appears to me to be kind of common sense.
That was brought up by one of your board members.
Yeah, it was brought up, but we don't have the ability to cut all those trees down. John doesn't have the license to do that.
The engineering part is the whole line of sight, like them passing on the Lee County requirements. I couldn't, I could maybe give it to them, but they have to pass that kind of.
So
It's not necessarily common sense. You have to, it's DOT.
Right.
Whatever they're going to publish, so it's got to.
Okay, so
Again, I've said this.
That brings me to the next question then, which is, when was that changed from the time it was established?
Oh, it should have never passed inspection to begin with.
Ever.
Right.
From the day one.
You couldn't see these intersections from the day this place was built. So I can't answer that.
And there was a time.
Look through something else, but.
And there was a time in the late 90s or early 2000s, there's so much building going on, things just go. Like, there's so much money and stuff being built that things get pushed along, and they shouldn't have,
Or for home.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. When it's going, a lot of things get bypass, as long as that money exchanges hands, everybody's happy. It's kind of what happened.
I mean, you're right, it's common sense. You can go to one of those intersections and just look and say, how did this
Yeah.
ever, the way it's set up and they're set back, you can't, even with the burns, you can't see,
No.
much less the
For
stuff's on top.
The education on that, I didn't know it never should have been there at the beginning.
Right.
No.
You know, if it passed at the time and it just wasn't maintained and allowed
Right.
to mature, you know, that would be.
And another issue is we've been talking about it for so long now, it's been an issue for so long, that we kind of have to act upon it.
We're aware of it.
We're
Has to be
aware
up
of
to code.
And we have to do something, at least show, that's why we have the mirrors at the end, they've been here for a long time, just that whatever, we're at that point, that, Lord forbid, look, knock on wood, nothing's, ever happens.
So with John taking those and his staff taking those down, we're trying to do what we can until the full-blown thing is done. So, and that's why, but thank you, I appreciate it. Okay,
Okay, maybe.
yes,
I have a question.
okay.
Would it behoove us to move the stop sign, the name of the street, closer to the outer street?
You can't, because there's a sidewalk. You can't have the sidewalk behind the car, because then the car will hit somebody walking across. So the stop sign has to be here, sidewalk in front, so they can walk and bikes can, you know what I mean? If the car had to go past that sidewalk every time, somebody could be coming on their bike and it'd be,
Now, I have another question. Is there any way to turn the sign that goes that way, that, what the street is, bring it this way so that you can see that's the street, because it's so hidden facing that way?
That's the HOA.
and that's a DOT.
The HOA?
No, that's a DOT thing. How signs have to face and what, that's probably a DOT thing.
Okay.
Answered her about the sign, uniform traffic code applies to all that. And when the HOA back in about 2008 put the signs in, they had to follow the dictates of the standard traffic code. So that's why they're the way they are. They're that way across the country, the way they're 90-degree angles. That's the way it's supposed to be. What John was talking about, I know you guys talked about it, looking into when we drop the berms down of where we've got with the traffic safety code. And what Scott was talking about, back in 2002, we had a group of people known as the Concerned Citizens, and we monthly bitched with U.S. Homes about the berm and the sight lines, and their answer was, it's done too bad.
Yeah.
But
So
in
we're,
most communities, you have to have 36 foot from the corner back, no more than 36 inches high so you can see. And that doesn't meet that. I know they've talked about this for several years, as HOA has with them. And, Rome wasn't built overnight, it all costs money, so it takes some time.
but we are working on it, and John, I'm glad you guys did the
Yeah.
one there, so,
And we're going to continue to do what we can.
When you can.
At the intersections, and look, can we take this out without making it look too,
Naked.
barren or naked or just unproportionate?
So can I ask a question? So that was an issue back when you guys took it, turnover was made from U.S. Homes?
But before the turnover.
And,
U.S. Homes was like
And-
wall.
and how much money did the community get at turnover?
Not
98,000.
enough.
Obviously not.
98,000.
Especially when you're.
What's that?
It was 98.
We're on the board then?
And no clubhouse.
I just got on after that. No, I was after.
okay. All right, let's get back to the budget. Are there any other budget questions? Chuck, did you find our 10,000?
No, this is under Pro Shop.
No,
golf course.
Golf course is in there.
It's not on this copy.
It's not on this copy in page 24, under golf course, it should be under association dues and
I'm
seven.
sorry, I was up front, I wasn't on the monthly. Okay.
Okay.
That will make a difference. Still there.
Okay.
Huh?
What was that?
Is it building maintenance?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an engineer, I don't do that.
Do you guys have any other questions with the budget? Once Chuck finds our $10,000. It's there?
No, I'm still pulling it up.
Okay.
Somebody can't do quick math on that column.
Yeah, I can. Just want to make sure it's in. Okay, well, Chuck's looking for that 10,000.
Yeah, it's blank on this fiscal year 22 on page 16. If you look at building maintenance, it's blank.
It is, and yeah, and it's not on the monthly either.
So that's 10,000. Can you put that in?
Yeah, would you want 10,000?
Yeah.
already out?
Yeah, just put it at the beginning. No, because we're more likely that roof needs to be done now, and that's gonna be like 3,000 probably for that chem room.
So you want 10,000 in October?
October, yeah, just put it up front.
Okay. All right. Okay, with that change being made, are there any other budget issues, questions? I think we're good.
I'll bring my copy of the number.
We still give out a scholarship.
No. We've never done it.
Yeah, but do we leave it there?
I mean, if it's something you guys want, I mean, we were supposed to do it in COVID, we didn't do it.
We didn't. Let's just leave it. It's $1,000. I'd like to try and do that.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like we've used it.
We
And no,
haven't.
it doesn't look like we have, and I think last year because of COVID, but I think we really should, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a couple of candidates.
Yes. I know a couple. Good split. Okay. Okay. All right, so I have to, so for the board, do I have a motion to accept this budget for the 2021, 2022?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the budget's been adopted. Thank you. And Jeff and John, thank you for your work on this, and I know Mike DeBrino, who's not here, is doing a lot of work on it, so we'll thank Mike as well. Done. The next thing we have is the update on the landscape committee.
Got one more step.
What did I miss here?
Got one more step, item 5.
Oh, I-
Now, the public hearing on the assessment
Okay.
related to the budget that we just adopted.
Okay. So the assessment will remain the same as last year, and the funds will be used for the O&M, the debt service. We only have, 4 more payments left, and the irrigation. Can I have a motion to accept the assessments?
If I may, this is the assessment levying resolution. All it does is it takes into consideration the budget you just adopted, the assessment levels that are contained in that budget. It directs your staff to prepare a lien roll and transmit that lien roll to the tax collector for placement of your assessments on the property tax bill that comes out the 1st of November. And as you mentioned, Madam Chairwoman, the assessment levels are flat year over year in all of our funds that levy assessments. And at the appropriate time, we do need to open up the public hearing on this and see if the public has any comments on the assessment levy.
Okay. Do we have any comments on the assessment levy?
It's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah. We pretty much discussed it already.
The budget was the most important step.
Yes.
Most impactful.
Right.
The opportunity, if you have any objections to the assessments and the assessment levy, this is the time to speak.
Yeah.
I make a motion to accept the assessment. Is that how you say it? How do you want to say it, Chuck?
Yeah, resolution 2021-07.
You got it.
Whatever you said.
Phil's got it.
I make a motion.
Phil signs it.
I'll second.
And Phil all up with the second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you. Now you're
Thank
done
you.
with the budget process.
Okay, thank you. Budget is done. Thank you all. Okay, so, sorry, I missed that one. Okay. Update on the landscape committee. We did, Juniper was out here 2 weeks ago doing surveys. I did get an email from Scott saying that they would be preparing some information. Have they been in touch with you?
No,
No,
and
they
I was
did-
sick that was the day I got my,
Okay, they did get the CAD files pretty
From
much, I
Johnson.
think, from Johnson
Yeah.
Engineering, so that saved us money there, which was great. They were pretty diligent in getting them from them.
They're not looking at corkscrew, are they, as far as landscaping? Are
no.
they putting that into the scope or not?
not at this
It
time.
will be part of the scope, but again, we are waiting, 2 weeks ago, I think, Chuck and Tony and I were on a call with the county. It does appear that the county did receive an easement, and they did have the right to take the trees off the berm. With that being said, in our conversation, they are willing to work with us and our landscaper in replanting things. Now, I did say to them, I don't want, a couple trays of daisies out there. I want, good landscaping that's going to go in with what we're doing. So they are going to work with Juniper when we get to that point. It's going to be about 22 months. They are doing the irrigation right now. Also, with that being said, they had promised me an 8-foot fence, and they put up a 6-foot fence. They are going to put up an 8-foot fence. They did ask me if they could do it after hurricane season. I said to them I didn't want to wait till December, that I'd like it done sometime in October, weather permitting, so they should order the fence now so we have it. So sometime in October, they will be taking that 6-foot fence down, and they will be putting up an 8-foot fence with the green cloth. And I would appreciate, since I don't get back there all the time, the residents on Weymouth, if it's loose, if it's torn, if it's coming down, to please let me know so that I can contact them, because they have, I saw it the other day.
Oh, okay.
And I have called them, because I did come in occasionally I come that way. Because I said, I don't want it torn and tattered. It's shambles right now. So they are going to do that, and they have agreed to put up the 8-foot fence come October. And I agreed with them I would wait until after hurricane season, but I wasn't waiting until December. So you will be getting an 8-foot fence, and yes, I have called them about the few pieces that are flapping. Okay, so yes, so they are going to work with us on that part. So yes, that will be part of the landscape project with Juniper, but that will be towards the end and with the county, and they did agree to help us.
Why are we doing irrigation now?
When they were working on that berm and ripping out all the trees, they ripped out
I
some.
know, but it was dry before, wasn't it?
It was shut off to it.
Don't we want to do it after they're done with the project?
Well, here's the thing. All we're actually having them do is put in the pipe that was there, because eventually we might still be able to use that. So they're just putting in the 2-inch line. There's no connections to anything. There'd be no irrigation.
Something you can tap into.
Just something to tap into. And if we decide to do it, and because they took it out anyway, so might as well have them put it back, just in case it's better to have than have not in this case. Let them just get away with not.
And it was in their budget to do it, they're doing it.
Right, exactly.
So,
Yeah, Madam Chair, again, what was handed out to you, this is what they have on the monitor. It's an excerpt from the development order for Stony Brook.
yes.
And it shows the typical, Lake Burn, Horseshoe Road, right away across section. That's in red, and with the second page, it's sort of blown up. And that's the thing, how much they have to work with. So that was just, again, just part of the discussion also.
Right.
And unfortunately, this doesn't really show you in proportionate, like a top view of where this swell is going to be and where this new swell is going to be. You got to kind of use your imagination. You know what I mean? That's the hard part about it. But I mean, I've been out there on site, so I've seen it. It is going to be at a more severe pitch. That the new swell. It's going to be pushed in. I think like about 2 feet. He said.
Now, John, you're better at this than I am. They're going to do the swale, they're going to do the berm. The village also wants to put a 10-foot walkway there and landscaping. Is there room? I'm not very good with all of that, and I have not yet gotten back in touch with Dave Willems or the village.
But you're also
There-
going to have easements in there too.
Right, it's kind of hard to see, well, what's going to happen with that turn lane into the back. Where's that moving to? Is that moving towards Grandeza and giving us more room? If that's the case, then I would say yes, but I would say as it sits right now, absolutely not. Because I think the walkway out there now is probably a standard 7-8 foot wide walkway.
Yeah.
Probably 7.5 feet wide. So another 3 feet? No, I don't see
Is there
that.
talk-
This is 30 feet wide.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have that much. See, I'm not really good with, unless I'm actually standing there.
Except they did move the turn lane that you turn to the left over to the left.
Right, they shifted it towards Grain Days and more, right.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that might be, remember, they're making it 2 lanes, so you gotta have that extra lane. That doesn't,
But it would be, because if they took down that whole side where it
Right.
could be turned,
right, but that's, so, let's say they took down that just to make the extra lane, but they didn't give you any room for now this new berm, that there's, you see what I'm saying? So you use that room up for the lane, that they,
Right.
by shifting that other lane over, you gain that access, but you're using that room for the lane. Now, what about over here? Is there gonna, it's hard to tell.
it still works.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I don't know where in the world they think they're going, but it's beyond me.
yeah.
Well, no, the only thing, what I see, and I could be totally wrong, is even the lane that where they wait for the bus and the arm turn lane to go come in, I don't see why it has to be moved, only for the fact there are going to be 2 lanes that go straight, and they moved the turning lane over
Right.
towards the middle.
Well, I'm not sure, and Tony, I'm still asking the village to give me paperwork on how much of an easement they want. So I haven't received anything, and they said, well, this is just like a standard easement. I'm like, well, no, we're not standard. I want, you want this much of my property. So I'm still waiting for that. So until the
They haven't
village...
given you that number yet?
No.
That's
They-
amazing. They already have plans for the road, but they don't know how much they're taking from us.
Well, the road is the county.
Right.
The village wants the
Okay,
walkway.
I get it.
So the village is saying, well, this is a standard way well, no. I need to know what you're doing on my property, and I still haven't received that. So I will call Dave Willems again this week and ask him where it is, and that we're not talking about it until I know what we're talking about.
So when you say they're doing a buffer, they're just building up the dirt in that?
Honestly, I'm not sure exactly what they will be doing a berm, they will be doing plantings, and again, I haven't gotten any final details of how much they want or where we're going with this, so that's still, we're working on it. And at least you got your 8-foot fence.
And with the fact that they left the trees that they left on the berm, I don't think that berm's gonna change much at that point. That's still gonna be your apex of that berm. It's just...
You mean further up towards the parking lot, those trees they
Or
left?
further up, so if you, on that end of Weymouth, when you're coming down Corkscrew, where you turn in the back gate, if you see how they left some big oak trees on that berm, that's still your apex. So yeah, the swell might get closer to that apex, and the berm might get skinnier. It doesn't mean the berm's gonna get higher.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's really what they're doing, is they're bringing these swells in, and the sides are gonna get more severe, sloped, just to gain that access.
And that's why I said to them, I want some quality landscaping, I don't want little
Right.
plants of flowers. So, a row of daisies, we're not doing that. So, on the county. Actually, I was in a conference call, and Chuck and Tony were at the meeting, and
Why did they put up the little black fence?
That's called silt fence.
Yeah.
And what that does is, because they took all the foliage out of the berm, and it's an exposed berm, it's just dirt, when you get the heavy rains, it keeps all that dirt from washing down into the swell and filling it up full of excess dirt, and then, filling basically the drainage for the water, for the storm, and it just protects it a little bit.
John, I did receive an email from the village today, and I'm sure it's not us, but to all the communities saying, if you're moving the silt fence, don't, because the guys have to put it back up every day. I'm sure
Yeah,
it's not us.
no, we haven't touched anything.
Okay. I didn't think we did, but
No.
I said I would bring it up. Okay, so the landscaping, so once we get once Scott gets back to us, because we did give him our first deposit for doing this, once he gets the plans together, he's going to meet with us, and then, Elizabeth and Teresa will meet and go over them, and then we'll have them, they'll be presented at a meeting, and it will be noted when it will be presented at the meeting, so you can all look and see what their plans for the whole community are. So that's my update on that. Tony, pro shop remediation.
I think Chuck shared with you the letter I received today
Yes,
from Mr. Gargano, the attorney for Jack.
yes,
We can copy of it.
yes.
And that ties back to, I think, the prior letter, my letter that went out on August 12th. I think you all have seen a copy of that.
Yes.
And that was in response to the $43,631 that the TAC indicated that they were allowed to be amortized over a period of 12 months.
Excuse me just one second. For those of you that don't know, the air conditioning unit in the pro shop, the current landlord feels we need to replace it. When Duffy's was closed, one of the reasons they were closed for so long was their air conditioning unit backed up and the whole place was full of mold, so that's why they were redone. He's now asking us to redo the air conditioning in the pro shop. Our comment was, we're looking to buy the building, so why do we have to do it now? So that's where we're going with this.
And a number of other issues. One was that the air quality report from Kobe Cooling indicated that the air quality was good. There was not a need to remediate for mold. And correct me if I'm wrong, anywhere along the way. Whereas part of the budget that TAC has indicated was environmental remediation for $13,000 and change. And then also removing attic insulation and ceiling, $10,000 and change, totaling about $24,000 just there. And the asserted cause of all this condensate was the air handler, condensate pan and drain that apparently was installed for code but not installed for manufacturer specifications. I'm just going back to recollection of all the correspondence. And that component from Kobe Cooling totals about temporary cooling and HVAC-related replacements is about $19,000. So the $43,000, $600. The $19,000 is attributable to the AC work. We have a dispute whether or not it's appropriate. If it's common area maintenance, we'll take a portion of it. If it's capital replacement, it's supposed to be amortized over the life of the capital. And we're asserting, hey, if nothing else, it's capital. You're replacing a capital component. TAC has consistently taken hard lines, hard positions, I'll call it. Madam Chairman, if I'm misstating it, and including a letter, I think it was the 12th, that was sent out earlier this month, and said by the 15th, we're going to start doing the work you need to agree by the 15th. And then Eileen had a call with Andy DeSalvo, the managing member of TAC, with regards to holding it off. And so a letter went out August 12th that all the board has seen, our approach. Today, just received 12 days later, just the day of the board meeting. I don't believe it's coincidence, but the day of the board meeting, we received this letter with regards to the fact that they disagree with our assertion, or the landlord's taking the position that the cost of the repairs are those of the districts and the tenant, and that the work will begin in September. That's what they're talking about, September 7th to September 9th. And it says the CDD can continue to coordinate the repairs directly with the property manager, AJS Realty Group. And I think even at one point in time, there was some disagreement where the property manager asserted that repairs are capital, but then later on, the managing member said they're not capital.
Right.
I don't know if it was related to the fact that the lease says it was capital, you amortize over the life of the improvement. So this is the latest and greatest, and I don't know, since this just came in today, whether or not that proposal that was previously tendered for the $43,000 to be paid out over a period of 1 year through additional rent is still outstanding or not. And so the board, the TAC says they can't continue to delay the repairs. It's going to cause additional repairs and expenses and damage to the common area or other tenant space.
Have we had our own bids for repairs, or is this?
Yes, we got Kobe. We got Kobe to come in and do it.
Yeah, and Kobe does, the HVAC component is Kobe.
Yes.
And that's the $19,000 temporary cooling
Right.
plus the HVAC. It's the attic insulation and ceiling, as well as the $13,000 for remediation that we disagree is necessary because of the air quality. And we've never, to my knowledge, based on the material I saw, there has been no counter to the Kobe cooling air quality report. I mean, I can
No.
correct it, but...
I mean, we can get another air
I
quality.
don't know.
No, there's been no other.
No,
Which indicated there wasn't a mold issue, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And so I think the board's position has been that the remediation is excessive.
Yeah. You know, and that's kind of how I feel, but And again, I'm not sure legally, I mean, can they just come in and say, we're doing it on the 7th?
Again, the lease, and I looked at, well, I brought it up, I say the PDF, it says the tenant has to provide reasonable access without interfering with the business to perform remedial activities. That's, I'm paraphrasing. And that was in the first letter saying, hey, you were planning on coming in and performing the repairs that would adversely affect the operation of the pro shop.
Right, so that they,
So now, I think the approach is, oh, we're going to do it between the 7th and 9th.
because we were...
Because the pro shop will be closed during that time, so it won't interfere with the business.
Right. Also, in that letter that you sent to them on the 12th, you had put information with regard to our intent to purchase or to look for a non-disclosure agreement.
And that was never addressed.
No.
Yeah, and my research indicated we can't really do a non-disclosure agreement, but the state statutes provide an opportunity for a person who's providing trade secrets to governmental body. If it's a good faith trade secrets, and the statute defines what they are, there's court cases, and I provided those, a summary of the statutes and court cases to the attorney for TAC, to say, here's how you may be able to craft a submittal to the district with the financial information on the operation of that building. And I didn't hear any response.
He never,
okay. That's correct. It's not even,
He
his
never-
letter of today,
was just the air
you never
conditioning.
even know that that particular component was in my letter.
Well,
And that
that's,
was for our intent to purchase the building.
yes.
Correct, just generally, because we had talked in our meetings about having a non-disclosure agreement, and I think the last board meeting was mentioned, it's difficult to have those under Florida law with regard to public records, but there is a trade secret statute, and it's been construed by the courts that certain information can be maintained confidential and exempt if you meet a certain test. And I provided that as an attachment, it's like a little outline.
Right.
Along with the statutes and along with the cases, give guidance. We can't ever guarantee it be confidential, but guidance as to how the materials can be submitted.
Right.
Like ROI, these kind of private matters that might qualify as trade secrets, if they label it as trade secrets.
Okay. So,
So are we talking about the AC right now? Or
we're going to talk about the AC, but I just wanted to put that in that,
I know.
it all kind of wishes together, that our point was, why are we doing the air conditioning when we want to buy the building and gut the whole pro shop? That was number one, that's why I asked about that.
No, I didn't.
And if we are bound to give them access, Jeff?
Well, a couple things. One, this morning there was water in the hallway, so something leaked from the air conditioning unit overnight. Now, whether that was something froze up and thawed out and was, I mean, it wasn't a lot of water, but there was water in the hallway, which is kind of scary because that hallway leads to Duffy's. And if something happens to Duffy's, guess who they're going to come after? They're going to come after us. As much as it pains me to say this, and it pains me a great deal because I've fought with them tooth and nail. I'm the one that wanted to bring Cubby in for an air test. It's my belief that this is a bit of a shakedown, but here's the but. I think we should just go ahead and let them do it. Let's get it done. Let's get it fixed. That way there's no dirt on our hands if something happens, because unless our luck changes, something will happen. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, you know, like, it always seems like it's something, and he's continuing down this path nonstop to get this done, and I don't really see how he benefits per se from that. I usually can look at something Andy's doing and see a benefit. I mean, he's a businessman. He's a rather good businessman
I'll
at
tell
that.
you where he's benefiting, Jeff. He's actively trying to sell the building
Right, and we're actually trying to purchase it.
out from under us. No, I'm talking about out on the market.
Well,
He's already approached real estate companies.
but I understand that, Phil, but if something happens to that unit and it blows up and that water goes into Duffy's or...
No, I
there's-
totally get that point. I'm just saying the reason for his haste is because he's trying to get the building complete so he can sell the building.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I had no idea or knowledge of him trying to sell it on the open market.
Yep, he is.
But I can tell you that as much as it pains me to say, I think we need to go forward and go ahead and just let them do the work the 7th, 8th, and 9th and be done with it.
What, Madam Chairman, again, you all are the policymakers and decision makers.
Yes.
Just some recollection. I think, I don't have the letter in front of me, but I think the one correspondence, or maybe it was an email, where there was an indication by TAC that they were going to amortize cost over 1 year.
Yes.
But they said not to exceed 50,000. So, I mean, that's, all of a sudden now we have a $7,000 contingency, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Interest charges.
I don't know if it's worthwhile to go back. That doesn't seem to be off the table, to my knowledge. I don't think the board rejected that at all.
No.
Maybe ask them to amortize it over a longer period of time, if you're going to do that. Because
Yeah.
Delphi's amortized over a longer period of time.
They let- yeah.
The mortgage, I think, is what the internet called. I don't know if it's-
Yes, they did amortize it over a longer period of time. You know, and when I said that to Andy, he said, you know, we're not in the lending business. I said, I understand that, but, you know, you can't spring this on us either. If they would be willing to amortize it over, what, 18, 24 months, and not to exceed the 45,000, because it's at 43, I'll go to 45. I know where he got the 50. And we will make accommodations for them to start on the 7th, according to what's working for, what works for the pro shop,
Not to interfere with the business.
not to interfere with the business.
So that it would be appropriate to, and I guess this conversation between you and Andy, I mean, sometimes having lawyers, it gets a little more.
Oh, yeah.
But if you all had that conversation, the one offer for amortization, I think, was in an email, I think.
Yes, it was in an email, and as a matter of
And
fact,
they offered us that.
they offered that to us, and
Right, so maybe come back and say, hey, we appreciate it, we understand your concern, and while we disagree with the cost expense and the range of the improvements, we'd be amenable to paying $45,000 amortized over a 24-month period of time as additional money.
Right, well, I received this from Tony today,